Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in Canada or around the world. Thanks for joining this information session for the part-time certificate in blockchain development and the postgraduate certificate in backend and blockchain development at York University. And in case you were wondering who's behind the voice you're hearing during this information session, I'll just share a few details about myself first. So as I mentioned, my name is Sean Woodhead. I'm the program manager for blockchain development. I have some other digital tech programs in my portfolio as well, and these include data analytics, people analytics, and machine learning. I came to the School of Continuing Studies in 2017. My entire career has been spent in the Ontario College and University sectors. I bring to this program what I believe to be ample experience in program management. Education-wise, I did my Master's of Education at U of T, and I'm currently working on my PhD in education at York University. Now, I'm a strong believer that professional programs such as this certificate in blockchain development and the postgraduate certificate in backend and blockchain development must have a curriculum that is tied to the career-related goals of its students. So how I do this is by backwards engineering the curriculum that starts with industry input on what our students need to demonstrate upon graduation in order to be ready for the program-related occupation. And in this case, that would be a blockchain developer. I believe my approach works very well for building high-quality programs in the digital tech space. So somewhat related is the certificate in machine learning that I led development on, which first launched in September 2018, just received a national award with the Canadian Association for University Continuing Education. That program also boasts some very impressive numbers. 100% of its graduates are in full-time employment 6 months after graduation, and nearly 3 in 4 are working in a related occupation. Also, students are very pleased with the instructors in that program, with an average rating of 4.4 out of 5 stars. The reason I'm sharing with you this information about the certificate in machine learning the certificate in machine learning program that I developed is because I am aiming to replicate those successes in these two programs. Before I get into today's agenda, I wanted to start by briefly highlighting a message that was delivered in June 2019 at the School of Continuing Studies convocation at York University. At last year's convocation, many senior administration had spoken about the future of work and specifically the importance of upskilling in an ever-changing world. Ajinka Kulkarni, the Senior Director of Data Science and AI at Scale at Royal Bank of Canada, delivered the commencement address at convocation. His core message holds true for all of our programs. Dr. Kulkarni wanted all of us to take note that an investment in lifelong learning through continuing education is critical to our ongoing personal and professional development, and it presents new opportunities for us along the way. One such area to upskill is in the blockchain space. Now, most of us will be well aware that the process or means of upskilling looks a little different now than it did just a couple months ago. COVID-19 has, at least temporarily, if not permanently, resulted in changing the way we learn and more broadly, the way we work, the way we play, and the way we live. It has led to many businesses having to scale down their activities or suspend those activities outright. This has had a significant impact on many people around the world. There are likely many people in this information session today who have themselves or their family members been impacted by this pandemic. And frankly, this pandemic has had an impact on my family too. One of the biggest ways it's changed our day-to-day lives is the need for us to each be responsible in maintaining physical distancing. And whether it is for work, for socializing, or for learning, this physical separation is only physical. My personal belief is that our maintenance of physical distancing is actually underpinned by a connectedness, a care for the health and well-being of not just ourselves, but of each other. So, in our School of Continuing Studies, we acknowledge that this is a trying and unfamiliar time for most or all of us, but it's also presenting individuals and organizations opportunities to explore and develop. On March 13th, we transitioned all of our on-campus classes to online, and we did so within 24 hours. No other continuing education unit in Canada that we're aware of has done the same. The two blockchain programs we are speaking about today are being delivered in the fall. The full-time program is planned for delivery online until the federal government and public health officials inform us that it can be delivered on campus. And for the part-time program, we will be delivering this 100% online with live online classes. For today's agenda, I've structured this as a series of responses to questions our team is often asked. Most of you have joined today because you're interested in becoming a blockchain developer or a software developer who has developed some specialty in private or public blockchain. At the end, we should have time to answer any other questions that are not answered through what I'm providing in this information session. So one thing I thought would be important for us to start with is on why it may very well be important to upskill in blockchain specialization in 2020. So upskilling in this space and in Toronto, I would say, is a great choice. CBRE has reported that Toronto is the fastest growing tech community in the world and #3 in North America. And with being a growing tech hub comes a need for a wide variety of technical roles, including those in blockchain. Also, there is an unmet skills demand in this area, and this unmet skills demand is real, it's growing. One reason that there is an unmet demand is the lack of qualified and dedicated blockchain programs. Now, we tend to look at the United States as being an epicenter of tech growth. For blockchain, this does hold true with an over 300% increase in demand for these roles in the US. But I also want to say that by comparison, Toronto, the growth is even greater. In Toronto, there's been a 374% increase in demand for blockchain developers. Now, something else I wanted to mention, which is that there's an increase in earnings potential for those who get into blockchain. If one is an entry-level professional and they're coming into a blockchain development role, they can expect on average a salary of $75,000 per year. Now, with more experience, what we're seeing, at least today, is that blockchain developers are actually earning within a range of $102,500 to $144,000 per year, and that's in Canada. There's also the matter of future-proofing your career. Staying on pace with developments like this in blockchain is important. By staying at the forefront of upskilling, you're future-proofing your career in comparison to those who are not staying at the forefront. As RBC is reported through their Humans Wanted report, as well as what we see from the body of literature regarding the future of work, being a lifelong learner who regularly updates and expands their education is becoming increasingly important to solidify one's long-term career growth and security. For the next few minutes, I'm going to go into some detail for the full-time postgraduate certificate. And then after that, I'm going to detail the part-time certificate. So what you'll see up on the screen are a series of features. Now, above that, you'll see just 3 points on a trajectory here. So my expectation is that those who have joined today, who are considering the postgraduate certificate, are doing so because they want to learn software development and they also at the same time want to specialize in blockchain. So what we have put together is a postgraduate certificate that you can complete in 8 months. And that postgraduate certificate has been designed so that upon completion of the program, our students have demonstrated the skills, the competencies that industry have informed us are critical for an entry-level blockchain developer. When we went through the process of designing this program, we learned early by speaking with those who fit the target audience for this program that it'd be important that we offer a convenient schedule. So what we've put together is a schedule that has 3-hour classes each evening, 4 days a week for 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, then a course has been completed. And instead of going immediately into the next course, we offer a 1-week mental health break in between each course. And what that mental health break allows you to do is to take a breather and also if there are any loose ends with the course that just completed, for instance, if you weren't able to get the final assignment in on time or something like that, this offers a little bit of buffer time to get that in. However, I'd ask that everybody please try to ensure that you get all assignments in on time. What the program also does is offers a series of networking opportunities. In the programs that I manage, I think it's absolutely critical that our students get opportunities to network with industry. And this is why, for a program like the Postgraduate Certificate in Backend and Blockchain Development, as well as other programs, we're paying the registration fees for our students to attend these types of events. Now, obviously, because this is a practice-oriented program, there are a series of tools and applications that you will get hands-on experience with throughout the program. And I'm going to detail that a little bit later. Also, there's projects that students complete in each of the courses. There will also be an opportunity for our students to compete in the Canadian Blockchain Olympiad in spring 2021. And the winners of that Olympiad will go on to the International Blockchain Olympiad. And as long as COVID-19 doesn't come back in another wave around the same time next year, that event will be taking place in Hong Kong. And I should also mention that I'm one of the academic liaisons for the Canadian Blockchain Olympiad. Last, but certainly not least, this program ends with a capstone course. And what I mean by the capstone course is that students are working with a business on a real business project. Now, I'm not certain yet what the size of the group will be for each of these projects, but in our other programs, the student group size tends to be between 2 to 4 students for each project. It's possible that some of you may not be interested in the business project, and instead you want to work on something independently. For those of you who may want to work on something independently and you have an entrepreneurial spirit, then there's actually an opportunity for you to get into the entrepreneurship stream that we run in collaboration with Innovation York. The entrepreneurship stream, it connects students with space and supports of the university to help scale up your venture. For the postgraduate certificate, there is an application that you need to submit for enrollment. And for international students, they also need to satisfy the English language proficiency requirement. The way that that can be done is if the applicant is coming from a country, the official language is English, then the requirement has already been satisfied. Or the applicant, if they have completed post-secondary studies for at least 1 year, whereby the language of instruction was in English, that will satisfy the requirement. For all other international students, they'll need to provide their IELTS score at the time of application. And the IELTS score requirement for this program is a 6.5 with no band score less than 6.5. Also, for admission into the program, students need to have a related diploma or degree, and they need to have a working knowledge of JavaScript. Now, I've listed some of the program learning outcomes for the postgraduate certificate, and I'll give you a minute to read those until I move on to the remaining ones. And here are the remainder. You can also find the program learning outcomes up on the website, and I'll be providing the URL at the end of this information session. Now, the part-time certificate in blockchain development. This is going to be the program for experienced software developers who are looking to specialize in blockchain. Now, as with the full-time program, the part-time program takes 8 months to complete. And just like with the postgraduate certificate, the students who graduate from this program are graduating having demonstrated the skills and the competencies that industry have informed us are critical for entry into a blockchain development role. Now, for fall of 2020, all learning will be online. And we have scheduled this so that there will be live online class for 1 weekend in each 8-week course. The remainder of the course is delivered online with occasional touch points. Let me correct myself, my apologies. For the remainder of the course, it's online, just like with the live online classes, but it's asynchronous. And what I mean by asynchronous is that the other activities that you'll be completing online, they're not required to be completed at a scheduled time, at a scheduled day of the week and with others all at the same time. You can do it when it's more convenient for you. Now, as with the full-time program, there's various networking opportunities that the part-time students will also be invited to, and for the exact same reason as with the full-time. Many of the same tools are being used in the part-time program, and I should mention that this is because the 4 courses in the part-time that make up the part-time program are the final 4 courses of the full-time program. So as with the full-time program, there's also multiple projects that students will be working on throughout. The students will also have an opportunity to compete in the Canadian Blockchain Olympiad, and there's the same opportunity to work on a business project or to work on your entrepreneurial endeavor through the entrepreneurship stream. With the part-time program, there's no application for enrollment. You can enroll at any time. What we do ask, though, is that the students who are coming into this program, that they have software development experience. Students who do not have software development experience should not be taking this program. If they do not have software development experience, they really should be considering the full-time program with the classes on the evenings. You'll notice that these program learning outcomes look familiar, and that's because all the program learning outcomes for the part-time program are represented also in the full-time program, with the only difference being that there's a few additional program learning outcomes in the full-time program. I should also mention that as we're still working through curriculum development, there's some chance that the program learning outcomes could change. There will not be significant changes to these program learning outcomes. We're now at a stage in our development where if we're going to make any changes, these are only going to be slight refinements or enhancements. We're still identifying all the tools and applications that will be used in the program. I've listed some of these up on the screen. Now, what you might have been able to gather is that there is a focus on both public and private blockchain in this program. Now, many of you might be wondering how graduates will fare in the job market. I've already provided this information near the beginning of the information session. I just want to reiterate that this is a growing area, and we're expecting further growth through the next at least 5 years, if not certainly beyond that too. So in terms of cost to enroll, there are different program fees depending on whether or not it's for the part-time program or the full-time program. One reason that you'll see that there is a difference in the cost between the part-time and the full-time is because, as I had mentioned before, the part-time program has only 4 courses, whereas with the full-time program, it consists of 9 courses. So for the part-time program, the certificate in blockchain development, the price for that program is $6,799. And for the full-time program, the postgraduate certificate in backend of blockchain development, the program fee for that program for domestic students is $8,999, and for international students, $20,999. Enrollment is now open for both the full-time and the part-time programs. One thing that I wanted to highlight, with where we're at right now in enrollment for the full-time program, I'm anticipating that it will likely sell out by July. For the part-time fall programs that we deliver in the School of Continuing Studies, many of them tend to sell out by late August or early September if it's for a September start. And the reason that I'm sharing this information with you, I understand that this is a very important decision that you're making, and you want to be well informed before you move ahead. I also want to highlight that my advice to you is that if you are seriously interested in the program, then once you're ready, you should secure your seat with a refundable deposit as soon as you can. So you'll see up here the URLs for both the postgraduate certificate and the certificate. And if you don't want to copy down the whole URL, that's fine. You can look up York University blockchain and you'll see us right up at the top. This is concluding the information session for the blockchain development programs. Now, you might not, or you might still have questions that were not addressed by the information session. And I do want to give you all a couple minutes to type out your questions if you want to ask them right now. However, if you haven't yet formed those questions, if you're still thinking about everything that was shared today, and if you have questions later, you can absolutely reach out to us with those questions. The best person for you to contact would be Mike Kasiba with those questions, and you can reach Mike at continue@yorku.ca. If you have registration questions or issues, you can reach out to the registrations team at regscs@yorku.ca. And of course, you're welcome to contact me if you have questions. I try to be quick on my responses, but it may be a tad slower than Mike or any of the reg team members. If you do want to reach out to me directly, you can contact me at woodhead@yorku.ca. That's WOODHEAD@yorku.ca. And again, my name is Sean Woodhead. Again, I know this is a very important decision for you. I want each of you to make the best decision for yourself in selecting a program that aligns with your career goals. On behalf of the staff, the instructors, all of us at York University, I want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to this information session, and I hope to welcome you to the program this fall. So we do have time for questions, and I'll give you a couple minutes in case you want to ask any of those. And you can put your questions in the chat box or the questions box. And again, if you don't have those questions formed yet, that's fine, and you'll be able to ask us at any point. Okay, so there's one question about if I can provide in-depth detail on what would be taught in blockchain and specifically with MongoDB. So I can do a quick walkthrough on what the certificate in blockchain development looks like at a high level. And the reason that I want to hold off on providing any details about possible in-course curriculum is just because we're still working on those pieces. What I can do is I can alert those who have registered for today's information session. I can alert all of them to developments on course curriculum. And then that way, as soon as we finalized those pieces, then you'd be notified almost immediately. So at a high level, what the blockchain program will be covering is in the first course, we're just going through the essentials of blockchain development and security. And then in the second course, most of the time is going to be spent on smart contracts and dApps. And then in the third course, that's when we're going to move into private blockchain, and specifically with a lot of work using Hyperledger. And then in the final course, that's when we would have the capstone. Oh, and one sec, there's a series of questions here and I just need to pull them up. Okay. Are working professionals allowed to enroll in the postgraduate stream? Yes, absolutely. And one of the reasons, or we've scheduled the classes to be in the evening, is because it will allow working professionals the opportunity to participate. Whereas, of course, if we had scheduled the classes to take place in the morning or afternoons, that might make it harder for a working professional who's working in a day job to then find the time to take 3 hours of class 4 days a week. Having said that, I would ask anybody who's coming into a full-time program who is also enrolled in a full-time, or that's also working in a full-time job, for them to seriously consider if they do have the time available to be able to balance the responsibilities and the time commitments with both of those. And another question is about, for those who have already been admitted into the full-time program, for September if there is a best way to prepare for the program and whether or not there are any online courses or books that are recommended prior to attending class. What I can say is that we don't have any advice on that yet. And as I had mentioned, once we've moved further through finalizing the course curriculum, that's when the program will be in a really good position to ensure that you're properly prepared for September enrollment. And one thing that I really like reading is that for students who are coming into the program for September, that in April, they're already trying to plan for how they can be successful. And so that I just wanted to share that because that's really reassuring to read. So when we have the course curriculum finalized, as I had mentioned before, we can share those details with all of the registrants who attended today, and that will include those who have already been enrolled into the program for the fall start. One question is also if students can transfer to another cohort if they need to pause their studies for some reason. And that's a good question because in all of my programs, I've noticed that there will be one or two students at least who for some reason they need to pause and transfer to a later date. My advice to students when they need to do a full stop because there's personal or professional commitments that are getting in the way of their studies, I encourage them to reach out to the instructor and or myself to share what's going on with them. Sometimes when these discussions take place between student, myself, or student and instructor, we find that a little coaching and a little working together on the problem ends up actually providing some clarity on just how to better organize time, or maybe sometimes it might require some course deliverables, deliverable dates get moved around. And then sometimes the need is so pressing or the responsibilities outside of the program are so great that that's not feasible and that the student really does need to do a full stop. In those cases, I would say absolutely we will move those students to a later cohort. And the reason that we'll do that is because my interest here, in the interest of all of our instructors, and really regardless of the program, we want the students to be successful. We want each of you to succeed in this program, and we want to see you go and succeed when you leave the program. We want you to be professionally successful. And there's an altruistic reason for that. We want you to succeed. There's also a slightly selfish reason, because if this program has a long list of alumni who have gone on to be successful, then the program's also successful. So short answer is yes. If you need to transfer to another cohort, you let us know and we'll work with you to do that. There is a question about installments. So students can put down a deposit and the entire program fee is not required upfront, and the full program fee is due upon the beginning of the program. Another question is, does the full-time program cover back-end web development as well, or is it only focused on blockchain development? It does cover back-end development and within some context of blockchain, but we really do focus on the fundamentals of software development first before we really get into much detail or much focus in the blockchain. And another question is this program offered once a year only? The full-time program is currently offered once a year, and that's each fall. And then for the part-time program, it is offered both with a September start and a January start. There's a question regarding the comment about the program being sold out by July. Does that mean everyone would know they are accepted by then? So for the full-time program, applications are being reviewed as they come in. And for most of those applications, the turnaround time on decisions have been, I would say, the turnaround time is fairly quick. We try to turn around a decision within a few weeks. And I can't say certainly that everyone would be informed by July. But if we continue to review applications as they come in, I would suspect that by July, most of those who have applied to the program will have been informed about whether or not they've been accepted into the program. Another thing I want to just clarify is that I'm not guaranteeing that the program will be sold out by July. I'm anticipating that it will be sold out by July. And just because of how many students have already been accepted into the program as of today. Another question is for international students who want to begin their studies in September 2020. If the situation is not normal, and I'm presuming that by situation we mean the situation regarding COVID-19 is not normal, what's the alternative, and can they defer to 2021? And the answer is yes. Okay, friends, well, thank you again for attending the information session today. And also, I just wanted to say thanks a lot for the many great questions. And I wish you the best of luck in you making your decision on what your next step is in your education. And again, reach out to us with any other questions you have. You can also reach out to me if you're looking for any advice. My name is Sean Woodhead, and my email address is woodhead@yorku.ca. Okay, everyone, thanks again. Bye for now.